Hey guys, what's going on? So I'm a little late with this one, but this video is for lesson 6. Talking about honesty and integrity. I thought this week was really great. I'm going to bring in an outside source, the book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. It was interesting. I was reading that book this week, and it actually has a lot in there about, finding the one thing that you're good at, the one thing that you can talk about endlessly, the one thing that would make everything else easier or unnecessary, really getting it down to habits, selected discipline, that discipline over time, creating a habit. So I'm going to get into that a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions proposed to the class. So just going off of that from Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, something that had stuck out to me the most was that people who are honest and who have virtue ethics and who have integrity, they're people who have created this habit. It's not about acting right when it's time. It's about always acting right because you are actually that person. It is like inherently in you, that's the way that you act. It's not like a how should I act question in your head. It's already knowing how to act without even asking the question. So that's someone who's able to act virtuous habitually. So that's what they were getting into. And Gary Keller, rather than taking away the virtue ethics, but his definition of of establishing habits is being selected to be very disciplined. He calls it selective discipline, by picking one thing and focusing it on it so much that there is no way that you can accomplish that because you have so much focus into it. So the example that he uses is Michael Phelps, and what he was saying was Michael Phelps dedicated himself. He was like, if there is one thing that I can do to be better than my competitors, what is that one thing? And it was being in the water more and practicing longer, harder, longer and harder than his competitors. So what he did was he didn't work out 6 times a week. He worked out 7 times a week. He worked out on Sundays because he knew if his competitors weren't working out on Sundays, then he would have a 52-day head start, boost or some type of extra juice to him that he'd be able to win always, because it was just about being in the water more. So now kind of getting into what this does for the person is, and virtue ethics and professionalism, and as engineers, how should we be honest and have integrity and to operate virtuously in the world of creating. Your word is the biggest thing that you can go on, because when you're starting a business or starting something or creating something, it's not always there unless you're an artist and you could say, hey, here's my paintings. That's great. But then what about all the other stuff, like how do you bring the community into it, or all the extra business things on top of there? So what you say about your business is what I'm going to think of it. And if I see your business in the public not following suit with what you had told me, I would have to question your honesty and integrity. They're very synonymous with one another. I'm gonna do my best to differentiate the two. The honesty of saying that you're going to do something and it not happen. And I can understand it might take time, but if it's a blatant thing where like, hey, I knew that he had told me he would never do this or write copy like this on an ad to attract someone, let's say for an example as an entrepreneur, using money, cars, and exotic things to attract leads, and one of my friends told me he would never use that, and then he goes and does that, I would have to question his honesty and his word, because he said that he would never. And then the integrity to his own word, the integrity on the fact that he had said that, him holding himself accountable to himself. That's what I would be questioning even more, and it gets very, very in depth. So why is it important in a professional setting to have these virtues? Is because you're basically nothing without them. If you can like figure out a way to make money honestly and with a lot of integrity, or with no integrity, like no honesty, no integrity, like I'm going to have to be questioning what you're doing and if you're doing it legally. So, because there's no one that I would know that would buy into someone that isn't honest or isn't honest to their own word. So that's my 2 cents. And then representing excellence in character. Oh, how does honesty and integrity represent excellence in character? I didn't have the questions in front of me. I just wrote them down. Going back to, you saying, if I'm going to do this and then it happens, that represents an excellence in character because you were able to follow suit with it, and it doesn't always have to be affirmative. You could be like, this is where I'm going. There's ways around it to make people not like always be jumping on you. Be like, this is the vision of the company. We're going to go through many transitions, or this is the vision of the community. This is how we're going to do things, but this is how we're doing things now to get to that point, because eventually we want to be there, but right now this is where we're at. And as time develops and as your business grows or as your project grows, those actions and the results of those actions will show your character, and if you were honest, and if you were honestly, no, it wasn't going to make sense, if you were honest or if you had done it with a lot of integrity. So I think your actions and results are a direct representation of your character. So you show me your results, I'll probably tell you who you are. And then for the last one, it's going a little long, but are engineers obligated to cultivate virtues? And I had mentioned this before, but 100% yes. As an engineer in the world of creating, your word is everything. Period. Don't tell me you're going to do something and then do the complete opposite. That's the worst way to have anyone buy into you. Now for the obligation part, because that's the key of it, I would say you could find a way around it to say that you're not obligated, but then I would say then you're not truly creating something. You're doing it with you, like you would just be like, no, I'm different. I'm not obligated to do these things. I don't need to act with honesty or integrity. I can just go and scam people. And then I would just say you're just not in the business of creating. You're in the business of scamming people. So I believe engineers should 100% be obligated to cultivate virtues. And I highly suggest checking out The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's a great book, really easy read, takes you through a lot of exercises, and helps with things like this to take action on them other than, expressing your opinions. You can just now find what's core to you. How are you working honestly in your company? How are you working with integrity? And it really allows you to shape your business or even an idea, or helps you better cope with being in your workspace. So hey, I'm in this 9 to 5, but I'm doing this 9 to 5 to be able to work on my one thing once I save up enough money or do something else. So I really like this one, honesty and integrity. I'm going to go study up on lesson 7. I'm going to post that one in about a half hour. So I'll see you guys on lesson 7. Peace.